What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, going to be talking about UFC Fight Night Lemos versus Andrade. Super early. I know Luke versus Muhammad hasn't even come out yet by the time that this video comes out. But there's so much MMA on next week, and I'm going to be trying to do a full card prediction and early predictions for Bellator, which have 2 cards next weekend. We've got LFA 130 next weekend as well, and the UFC, and I'm going to be trying to talk about all 4 cards. So I feel like to get my early breakdowns out, I got to get the early breakdowns out right now. As for this card, it actually looks like a pretty good fight night card. Not a lot of like massive names are on the card, but these fights, man, you got to trust me when I say there's going to be a few fights on here that are going to be bangers for sure. And let's just get straight into the first fight. I think that this first fight could be a little bit of a banger. On the Jordan Wright side, Jordan Wright has been on a full training camp. He was meant to fight someone else. Marc-Andre Barriault has stepped in on short notice, but Marc-Andre Barriault, man, he only got KO'd a couple of months ago. That does kind of fill me with like a little bit of fear. I did actually pick Marc-Andre to beat Hadzhovic. Did I? I think I did. And he made me look a little bit silly because Hadzhovic won the fight very quickly. But Jordan Wright has power on the feet. He's very good. He was 12-0 at one point in his career. Knocked out Villanueva, or TKO'd him really. Lost to Joaquin Buckley. Knocked out Jamie Pickett, which I guess is starting to look like an alright win, and then lost to Bruno Silva. But before he lost to Bruno Silva, he actually hurt Bruno Silva a little bit, and Bruno Silva recently looked pretty good against Alex Pereira. I mean, like, I think Jordan Wright is going to win this fight, and he's going to win this fight by knockout. But Marc-Andre Barriault, potential live dog, but he's stepping in on short notice. Jordan Wright's been in here on a full training camp. In fact, this fight was announced so recently. At the time of recording, there's no community predictions whatsoever. I'm going to be going with Jordan Wright still. Philipe Lins versus Marcin Prachnio. I didn't even know that Philipe Lins was still in the UFC. I mean, he hasn't fought for over a year and a half. He lost to Tanner Bosa recently. Then before that, he did lose to Andrei Arlovski. Before that, he was actually finding a lot of success in the PFL. But he's a pretty old man. He's almost 37 years old. Marcin Prachnio, on the other hand, seems to kind of been coming off like a bit of a like a return or a comeback, I guess, after a losing streak to Sam Alvey, the GOAT. He lost to Magomedov Ankalaev, who's a pretty top prospect right now in the 205-pound division, and Mike Rodriguez. But after that, he did beat Khalil Roundtree, and he did beat Villanueva. I feel like this is going to be a hard fight to kind of predict. It is taking place at 205 pounds, and Philipe Lins has recently been fighting at heavyweight. I'm going to be going Prachnio, though, by decision, I think, in this one. I don't really have too much confidence in it, but I think that the younger guy, the guy that is on the win streak right now, compared to a guy that's on a losing streak in Philipe Lins, I think I can go with Prachnio on this one here. Alright, and the next one we've got Damir Hadzhovic. Another guy that I didn't really know he was still in the UFC, man. Like, he did beat Yancy Medeiros by decision, but before that he lost to Renato Moicano, Big Money Moicano, and Christos Biagos, who was actually a very good fighter. Before that he was winning a couple of fights in UFC as well, I guess. But Steve Garcia, he most recently knocked out Charlie Ontiveros. I do remember making that breakdown. I did pick Steve Garcia to knock out Charlie Ontiveros, because Ontiveros really doesn't have much of a chin whatsoever. But before that, he did lose to Luis Pena, who isn't in the UFC anymore. Before that, he was in LFA and other regional things. He won on a contender series as well, I guess. As you can tell by my prediction, I really don't know who's going to win. I feel like Hadzhovic probably does have the better shot to getting the wrestling down and winning the decision that way. But yeah, not a fight I'm confident in at the moment. As you know, this is my early look, my first look, so I haven't actually looked into the fight whatsoever. Dwight Grant versus Sergey Khandozhko. I feel like Dwight Grant's only chance to win the fight right now was actually by KO, but he hasn't actually knocked anyone out in about 3 years now, when he knocked out Carlo Bertosoli, who I'm pretty sure isn't in the UFC anymore, beat Ellen Joban by split decision, lost to D-Rod, beat Stefan Sikulic by split decision, who's pretty good to be fair, and then he lost to Francisco Trinaldo by split decision. He's about 38 years old right now. Sergey Khandozhko was a lot younger, and he's a lot more experienced in MMA as well, which is kind of crazy. Most recently lost to Rustam Kabalov about 2.5 years ago, and he has not fought since. This is a big comeback for Sergey. Hopefully he has made the improvements, and he's also the first guy to defeat Rostam Akman, and since then Rostam Akman's gone like a 4 or 5 fight losing streak in the UFC and on the regional scene as well. I'm going Khandozhko by decision as well, but Dwight Grant potentially live for a knockout, but he hasn't knocked anyone out in a few years time, and I'm not really going to bank on Dwight Grant getting another KO. So Mudaerji versus Manel Kape. I think this is Manel Kape's jump up the rankings. I think Mudaerji at the moment is actually ranked higher than Manel Kape inside the UFC rankings. He's very young, actually, is Mudaerji. His 3 wins over Andre Sukumtar, Malcolm Gordon and Zaruk Ardashev were enough to keep him in the top 15. Like, that's kind of what I'm saying when, like, the UFC flyweight division right now is very, very thin. It's very good at the top, but lower down, there's not, like, a lot there. And they're gonna be bringing in so many more flyweights with this Dana White's Contender Series, so I'm very excited for that. I'll be picking Manel Kape to win the fight. Most recently beat Zalga Sumagulov by KO, knocked out Odi Osborne. Before that, he lost by split decision to Matheus Nicolau, where a lot of people think that Matheus Nicolau actually lost that fight. And he took on Alejandro Pantoja on short notice as well. Before that, he was finding a lot of success in Ryzen. And that Kai Asakura win is pretty notable, definitely to say there. So Mudaerji, though, he's alright, but I think Manel Kape is probably going to win by KO. I feel like Manel Kape, now that he's going to be getting some momentum in the UFC, I think that we're definitely going to see a good prospect in Manel Kape get a win in this one here. Tyson Pedro versus Ike Villanueva. A big return fight for Tyson Pedro, who hasn't fought in over 3 years, and he hasn't even turned 31 years old yet, so he's taken a lot of time off. I'm not 100% sure why. I really should research that when I get into my breakdowns, but he most recently lost to Shogun Hua, who was actually going to be fighting on UFC 274, which I'm very excited about. But he also lost to Oven St. Preux, who's also fighting UFC 274. But he did beat Safarov by Chimera. He did lose to Ilia Latifi, and he did knock out Paul Craig, who right now is actually a pretty good prospect. I think that Ike Villanueva, I'm very surprised that he's still in the UFC, and I feel like when Tyson Pedro does beat him, which I'm predicting him to do, Ike Villanueva will no longer be in the UFC. So I'm picking Pedro to win the fight here. So is literally everyone else. So yeah, let's go Tyson Pedro. Oh my god, I forgot about this fight. The GOAT returns, guys. The GOAT. Mike Jackson, the man who was 1-1 until they took that one away, and now he is 0-1 because of the no contest to CM Punk. So Mike Jackson, I think he was like a reporter or something like that. He was a writer with like a decent like kickboxing background, and he must have said something or done something, and they decided to put him in the UFC against Mickey Gall, and then he fought CM Punk after that. Like, I can't really remember the situation behind it, but point is, Mike Jackson isn't going to win the fight. Dean Barry's going to knock him out. He knocked out Drew Lipton, who was 6-30. Oh, I forgot about that. He knocked out Abdullah Al-Bashiri, who was 7-1 though. But yeah, Dean Barry, very good kickboxer. I don't know if he is at really UFC level. It's worth noting the fight's at 170 pounds, not 155. Not a UFC level fight, like, whatsoever, but it's on the card, so good for Dean Barry. He's going to get a knockout on this one, really, and build his record up, I guess. Alright, Aoriqileng versus Cameron Else. This is a very interesting fight, because Cameron Else, very early onto his career, beat someone very notable that you guys probably all know, and Paddy Pimblett by Anaconda Choke, back in 2013. But since then, he's been winning a couple, he's been losing a couple. He most recently fought against Kyler Phillips about a year and a half ago, and he did get knocked out by ground and pound there by Kyler Phillips. But Kyler Phillips was great. And Aoriqileng making the move up to 135 pounds, and I love Aoriqileng. He's such an exciting fighter. He really does bring it. He most recently made his debut less than a year ago. He lost to Jeff Molina in a fight which was relatively close, to be fair. And then he lost to Cody Gordon in a fight which once again was pretty close. But now he's going to be moving up to 135 pounds. He's probably going to be built up a little bit more. Maybe he's not fully filled into the 135 frame. But before the UFC, he did have success at bantamweight prior. So I'm going to be picking him to win this fight here at Aoriqileng by decision or KO by keeping the fight on the feet. He definitely needs to keep the fight on the feet though for his game plan to kind of work out, in my opinion, where he's going to be using his striking to a KO or a decision. I'm picking Aoriqileng here, even though he's lost his first 2 UFC fights. Preston Parsons versus Lewis Cosce. Alright, this is a pretty hard fight to predict. I know a lot of people are going to be very heavy on Lewis Cosce by KO, which I can respect. But Preston Parsons most recently filled in on short notice to Daniel Rodriguez, and he didn't look great whatsoever. But prior to that, he was winning by a lot of submissions on the regional scene. And potentially, if he could get Lewis Cosce to the ground, he could find a lot of success. But I will be picking Lewis Cosce to win the fight, but I am wary of the potential upset on the Preston Parsons side. I'm really interested in to know what the odds are, because I think they're going to have Cosce as like a massive favourite. He most recently did lose to Sasha Palatnikov, and this is kind of what I'm saying, like, this loss does not look good. This loss has not aged well whatsoever, because Sasha Palatnikov went on a losing streak and is no longer inside the UFC. He has found success outside of the UFC, but still, it's pretty hard to be banking on Lewis Cosce right now when Preston Parsons as well, like, you know, he looked terrible against Daniel Rodriguez, but it's Daniel Rodriguez, who I believe is like in the top 15, if not, he's borderline top 15 in the welterweight division right now. So I'm going to be going Cosce, but I feel like there's a potential live dog in Preston Parsons. Alright, we've got a banger of the night. This is the fight of the night, no doubt in my mind. Charles Jourdain versus Lando Vannata. Two guys that bring it, and Lando Vannata filled in on short notice to fight Tony Ferguson when Tony Ferguson was in his prime, and since then he's gone 5-5 in the UFC, I believe, and he's winning and losing. He's trading wins and losses. He lost to Marc-Andre, he beat Nancy Medeiros, lost to Bobby Green, and beat Marc-Andre by split decision. Charles Jourdain, once again fighting at featherweight here, and he is most recently coming off that win over Andre Ewell, and he really brought it, man. He did that crazy kick over Andre Ewell. He actually was going to fill in on short notice against Ilia Topuria, so you know that this guy is game at all times. You know that this guy has been training, and yeah, like I'm picking Charles Jourdain to win this fight here by a decision. I think it's going to be a banger for as long as it lasts, and I think it will go the full distance. I think Charles Jourdain is probably going to build up a little bit of a win streak after this win here, because I think he's just such an exciting fighter. He's definitely a fighter's fighter. So is Lando Vannata. Lando Vannata is also a fighter's fighter. He's also a fan's fighter as well. Like, he's very active on the social media, and you can kind of see him commenting literally everywhere. So I don't really want either guy to lose, but I will be picking Charles Jourdain to win this fight here. Maycee Barber versus Montana De La Rosa. Maycee Barber coming off potentially the biggest robbery in UFC history. If you go to MMA decisions, literally no one in the media scored the fight for Maycee Barber. She did not win that fight over Miranda Maverick. I do not care what you say. She did not win, bro. Like, this makes me so angry. I hate how, like, oh, I just hate it so much. But anyway, she lost to Alyssa Grasso, and before that she did lose to Roxanne Modafferi because she got injured. Prior to that, she was looking pretty good. She TKO'd Gillian Robertson, who's actually a pretty good prospect herself, and also JJ Aldrich, who once again is actually pretty good. Montana De La Rosa, though, on the other hand, she most recently did ground and pound Ariana Lipski to a win, went to a draw with Mayra Bueno Silva, but lost to Viviana Rujo, beat Mara Buala, and lost to Andrea Lee. But, like, Montana De La Rosa, I think she's actually on the Ultimate Fighter as well. She was on the Ultimate Fighter a few years ago, but unfortunately didn't find the most success there. She won one fight and then lost to Nico Montana, who ended up winning it, and then from there went on a decent win streak, I guess you could say. So yeah, you know what, I do remember Montana De La Rosa from the Ultimate Fighter. But Maycee Barber, I still think Maycee Barber is a good prospect. I don't think she's as good as what she was initially hyped up to be, but I will be picking Maycee Barber to win this fight here, and I feel like after she wins, let's just feed Maycee Barber to Courtney no, what's her name? Forgot her name. Casey O'Neill. Let's feed Maycee Barber to Casey O'Neill if she wins this fight. Clay Guida versus Claudio Puelles. I'm going to be going with Claudio Puelles in this one, but expect the upset, man. Clay Guida, bro, as soon as he beat Michael Johnson, I remember people commenting like, Clay Guida's title run has just begun, and he's going to go on like a massive win streak. And then he lost a split decision to Mark Madsen in a close fight, man. Mark Madsen, I feel like, is always pretty game for close decisions, really. And then he did submit Leonardo Santos, with Leonardo Santos, I believe from memory, like completely gassed out. He was a much older guy, and Clay Guida just pretty much out-wrestled him until he was gassed, and then submitted him there. Claudio Puelles, though, he is the one that did take the O from Jordan Levitt, and prior to that, though, I think that was his, oh no, it wasn't his UFC debut. Sorry, he's been in the UFC for so much longer than I thought he has. What is going on? How do I not know this guy as well as I thought he did? But he did submit Chris Grudeschmacher, and Chris Grudeschmacher, as you guys know, isn't the greatest at all, but this guy's been in the UFC since 2016. Wow, holy crap. Anyway, I've been sleeping, clearly, but, no, anyway, I'm gonna be picking, Claudio Puelles in this one here. He does have a lot of UFC experience, so does Chloe Guida, though, obviously, Strikeforce champion, I believe UFC champion at one point as well, potentially, but I believe he was a Strikeforce champion. Claudio Puelles by decision in this one here. Clay Guida, 40 years old, though, he's still a dog, he's still doing it, man. I feel like if Clay Guida wins this fight, let's just give him like the easiest guy in the top 15 for him to win, and let's just get him on a title run. I'm just kidding, but I feel like Claudio Puelles will win this fight. Alexander Romanov versus Tanner Boser. I believe that this is a short notice fight for Tanner Boser. From memory, I think Alexander Romanov was scheduled to fight someone else. No, I'm wrong. Okay, so Alexander Romanov, I do expect to win this fight here. And okay, sorry, it is Alexander Romanov filling on short notice here, of all people. So what happened was Tana Rosa was meant to fight Rodrigo Nascimento, and then that fallout, and then Romanov has decided to step in on short notice to fight Tana Boza. Smart choice in my opinion, because I think that Romanov is a great prospect. But I feel like Romanov, man, he just keeps kind of fighting guys that are lower ranked than him. He needs to start fighting guys in the top 15 if he really wants to build a title run. Like, he's been in the UFC since 2019, and the guys that he's beaten, like Roque Martinez, Marcos Rogério de Lima, who isn't actually that bad. He did beat Juan Espino by a very, very controversial, somewhat decision. Beat Jared Vandeira, who once again would have been ranked lower than him. Now he's fighting Tana Boza, who I believe will be ranked lower than him as well. Alexander Romanov, man, like, let's get you in the top 15, man. Like, he's not talked about enough, like, as a prospect, and I feel like it's just because he's not fighting top-ranked guys, or he hasn't started fighting guys in the top 15, is what I'm trying to say. Tana Boza, though, kind of mixed results in the UFC. He did knock out Felipe Lins, he knocked out Rafael Pessoa, but then he did lose to Andrei Arlovski in that kind of litmus test that everyone has, and then he lost by split decision to Ilir Latifi. And then you got the KO win over Ovince St. Preux. Ovince St. Preux, unfortunately, is deteriorating at the moment. I'm going with Romanov by, like, ground and pound TKO or submission. Like, Alexander Romanov absolutely destroyed Jared Vandeira. I'm not going to say he's going to do the same thing to Tana Boza, but Alexander Romanov's wrestling and it's like his ground game is just so elite right now that I think Alexander Romanov is going to find a decent amount of success here. And then the main event. We've got Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade. Amanda Lemos is on a decent win streak right now. There is a decent amount of talk behind Amanda Lemos as well. She did recently beat Angela Hill, which I guess is like a pretty good win in a way. She knocked out Monster Ruiz, who is most well known for arm locking JP Vay's cheating wife, whatever her name is, Cheyenne Villasmus. She knocked out Livina Soha by the power jabs, ground and pound, and I think that was where a lot of people started talking about her because she got power on the hands. Mizuki Inoue win, Miranda Grammer submission, but Jessica Andrade not on the greatest win streak, or like not really a win streak, but like greatest run right now. She is 2-3 in her last 5, but the losses: Weili Zhang when she defended her belt, Rose Namajunas split decision, and then Rose Namajunas went on to fight for the belt. She beat Caitlin Chukagian by like TKO in the flyweight division, got a win, got a title shot over Valentina Shevchenko. She did get TKO'd in that one, but she's bounced back over that win with Cynthia Calvillo by TKO, where Cynthia filled in on short notice. So that's a little rundown here. And now Jessica Andrade is returning to the strawweight division, and I think that we're going to see Jessica Andrade by KO against Amanda Lemos. I think Jessica Andrade is just so good. She's so experienced. Amanda Lemos is a lot older than Andrade as well. She's almost 35 years old for the women's strawweight division, which is quite old. And Jessica Andrade, she's very small, but she's got a lot of power packed into that frame, and she has fought at 135 pounds before, so you know that she's definitely like a bigger girl for the 115 pound, even though she's 5'1". I'm going Jessica Andrade to win by KO in the main event in this one here. That's my UFC Fight Night picks for Lemos versus Andrade. Full card breakdown will probably come out in like 3 or 4 days from now. This is a very, very early prediction video for me, but it's out, so that's it now.